Okay, good evening. It's 6:35, and I would like to call the October 18th, 2021 meeting of the Milford School Board to order. We will begin with a roll call. Mr. Mike McLean.
Present.
Mr. Joe Vituli.
Present.
Mr. Nate Wheeler.
Present.
Mrs. Judy Zano, present, and Ms. Holly Talapa will not be here this evening for personal reasons. It's an excused absence. May I have a motion to enter a non-meeting session under RSA 91A 32A?
So moved. Second.
Move and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Good evening. It's 7:15, and the board is now returning to public session.
In progress.
Before we do anything else, we are having problems, technical problems with the computer in the corner of the room, and that means that I hope I can explain this, that the audio on Zoom is going to be difficult. So anybody who's speaking into a microphone, whether it's here or whether it's here, needs to speak really loudly in order to be heard. It's a pretty minor inconvenience, but just so that you know, sometimes people speak really softly, and we can't hear it on a regular meeting. So just to be mindful that that's what we need to do. Okay? Thank you. Mr. Vituli, you had a motion to seal the minutes?
No.
Oh, my apologies. My apologies. The first item on the agenda is the consent agenda. I would like to ask if any members would prefer to move any of the items on the consent agenda out of the agenda so that they can be questioned, discussed, or voted down. Do any members wish to do so? Seeing no request, do I have a motion to accept the consent items?
I motion to accept.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes 4-0. My apologies, I need to go back for one moment. Ms. Talapa is not here this evening, and we were made aware of her absence. It's an excused absence. But we had made that notation earlier before anybody got here, so I just wanted to make sure people understood. Okay, before we enter into public comment, I would like to speak directly to the issue of public participation. There are 2 times when the public may speak, and they are during the period of public comment only. Please remember, this is a meeting of the board, not a public forum open for discussion and comment, but for the members of the board and those they invite to speak. The law in New Hampshire is very clear about this. RSA 644-23BC. A person is guilty of disorderly conduct if he purposely causes a breach of the peace, public inconvenience, annoyance, or alarm, or recklessly creates a risk thereof by disrupting the orderly conduct of business in any public or governmental facility, or disrupting any lawful assembly or meeting of persons without lawful authority. Should a person choose to disrupt, I will warn them that they are out of order. Should they disrupt again, the board will recess, and I will speak with them directly. The board will reconvene the meeting. If the disruption continues, we will once again recess, and I will ask an officer to remove the person causing the disruption. If more than one person chooses to be disrupted, they will all be removed. Recessing and reconvening are extended so that those who have chosen to disrupt can reconsider their actions. The state law does not require that we recess and reconvene multiple times if the situation requires immediate action. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Speakers should speak clearly, state that, more tonight than any other time, right? Should speak clearly, state their names as well as their addresses. Please note that policy 2152 is printed on the back of the agenda, as it is every meeting. There are 20 minutes allotted for public comments at the beginning of the meeting and 20 minutes at the end. Each speaker has 3 minutes. When there are 30 seconds left, the speaker will be notified. When the 3-minute mark has been reached, the speaker will be notified that their time is complete. All comments need to address an agenda item. Public comments are for comments only, are not a question and answer period. For that reason, although it often feels awkward, we cannot answer your questions. I have answered what I thought were black and white informational questions in the past, but have been told that even doing that muddies the water. If you have a question for board members that you would like addressed, please send us an email. If it is not a question that we can answer, I will do everything possible to redirect you toward the person who can best handle your issue. Who is doing time this
So
evening?
I
I'll
got,
do the 3 minutes.
yeah, and I got 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
All right, and who's doing the 20?
The who?
The
Oh, I'll
20
set
minutes
the 20
for
up. I'll set
Yeah.
that up.
Okay.
There's a volume on this?
Oh, good grief.
Microphone check.
Wait,
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that the volume?
No, that's the on-off button.
Oh, all right. Sorry, it's just really loud.
yeah, we can't even do timers, guys, come on. Okay, thank you for waiting.
I promise I'll be less than Alan Arbentina, you guys hear me? Good. Alan Arbentina, 36 East Ridge Drive. I'm against the mask mandates and for parental choice. The masks don't work, but to quote Mark Twain, it's easier to fool the people than to convince them they have been fooled. Wherever I go to any public sector in the state of New Hampshire, there are no mask mandates for adults. But this school board body believes in child abuse through continuous masking mandates. So according to whatever column or color we're in, I have 3 children in 3 different schools being forced to wear a mask for the foreseeable future. Obviously, going to these meetings pleading for a change hasn't meant much. But it's led to me to get organized and continue to learn. What I've learned: 1, the New Hampshire state legislators are spineless when it comes to child abuse and kick the can down the road to the towns. 2, the local town officials, also being weak, kicked that decision to the school boards. 3, this school board in August, then revising in September, adopted an illegal, unconstitutional mask mandate. So, what are we going to do now based off of what we've learned? 1, a lawsuit is being filed to reverse this board's actions. 2, based on RSA 91A laws, we've requested access to your email communications. If and when you comply, we will sift through the info for any and all illegal activities. If you deny the request, expect swift litigation. Article 8 of the New Hampshire Constitution supports the public's right to know. 3, we're going to file individual lawsuits. One that I'm personally going to inflict because of the notarized request I laid out to the superintendent for a religious exemption on all face coverings, which was denied. 4, we're going to draft a petition for warrant articles. We'll put this to a town vote and override the school board if the warrant articles are denied. We will insist on writ of mandamus, meaning you must do your legal duty, leading to a mandatory injunction from the court because of the violation of the law. You've awoken the sleeping giants, and we're just getting started. In addition to the mass war we're declaring, we're going to heavily support legislation in the state currently for conversion charter schools, teacher loyalty laws to incorporate a code of ethics, recalling of errant public servants, parental bill of rights, and educational freedom. In addition, we're going to go to the next curriculum committee meetings to see where you're teaching our kids. And if the board hasn't had a curriculum committee meeting recently, you should. Those decisions can't be ad hoc without parents' knowledge of what's being taught behind closed doors. So I'll give the board 2 options right now on ending this plan. Fastest approach, you can, and I can write it for you, for a petition to end mandatory masking of any kind. Second it, and then vote it, 5-0, 4-1, 3-2. Just end this pain right now. Another we're giving you is, if you don't like the pressure, get out of the kitchen. Just quit right now. And if you don't, we're going to continue hitting you from every angle as I laid out earlier. Worst case scenario, March elections are coming up, but believe me, till then, we won't go back to sleep.
Thank you.
And there's no one online.
Okay. Whoops. I'm sorry. I forget about it all.
How do you find Clorox where it's anymore? That must have been rather
Turn that
expensive.
off. Okay.
What?
Go ahead. Thank you.
Samaya DeMarco, 190 Timber Ridge Drive. I am here once again just to urge the board to consider some changes to the mask policies at school. It's clearly we've been asking you to end the mask mandate, but that's not making much progress. So last year, my kids didn't go. I decided to keep my daughter remote so that she had some stability throughout the course of the school year. But I understand that the children had more frequent mask breaks, and when they were seated at their desks, they could take off their facial coverings. And when they were participating in sports and gym class, they could also remove their face coverings, which is not the case. I have a 5-year-old daughter who now has a rash on her face from these masks, and she's explained to me that they are not allowed to take off their masks during gym class unless it's a mask-free day, which they only had a week or so of until there was another case making it 3 in the Jocks Memorial School. So again, I am just requesting that you take into consideration there were protocols in place last year that clearly are not being considered this year that I think would make it at least a little bit more bearable. And as a parent who doesn't like having to put a mask on her kid in the first place because I believe in a strong immune system, as someone who's recovered from COVID, as I'll state again, I would just like you to take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
So how do I reset this?
Double
Can you
hit.
pause that?
It is.
Okay, thank you.
Double hit these two to where it says clear.
Oh. It went to 0. It does go,
What are you trying to do? I don't know.
well, the time was only at 1.5 minutes, so. Sorry, I'm trying to figure
No,
this time
it's
out.
Mr. Vituli paused the amount of time so that it's not like ticking down on the 20 minutes.
Okay. I think we're good.
Okay. Yeah. Thank
So
you.
I'll grab them after. There's one person. I'll
Thank you
grab.
for waiting.
My name's Christopher Grout, 46 Oakwood Circle. I've got an interesting Department of Labor inspection report here where there's 17 violations of all kinds of things, from everything from improper PPE to employers or employees saying that they're not getting the training. 47.5% of interviewed employees report being struck or injured by a student at work. 50% of interviewed employees report not receiving the appropriate safety training. 100% of employees reported that their employer had not provided them with protective equipment. 85% of interviewed employees report that the employer and or supervisors are not conducting employee injury investigations. Goes on and on and on. There's electrical violations. There's everything from not having the proper equipment to clean up
I'm-
blood spills or anything like this. You guys can't mitigate an electrical circuit. What makes anyone here believe that you could mitigate a virus? It's literally laughable. I mean, these violations are insane. There's literally open circuits in the washer and laundry rooms.
But I need you to stay to masks and the virus.
Right, so
I'm-
that, I mean, it pretty much is the mask, because if you can't mitigate the most basic of building codes, like these are literally basic building codes that have been around for 50 years, and you can't even mitigate that. You can't even mitigate the proper PPE prior to COVID, let alone mitigate any of this. It's not even your duty. This is your duty. Everything that's in this Department of Labor report, all these 17 violations that you guys failed, everything from the dumbest of PPE gloves to open circuit boards in the laundry room. What makes anybody with half a brain think that you can mitigate anything? Let alone a virus. You guys can't even keep up with your electrical. It's pretty absurd. So, you guys sitting here trying to use the masks for safety. One of these violations in here was cited that if it wasn't corrected, that people were going to jail because they're building code violations. So whoever runs the building would have to foot that. It's absolutely laughable to think that this is still going on. We say it 100 times. If any of this works, why are we here? If the vaccinations work, why would anyone need to get one? If you've got one, then why would I? If your mask works, why do I need one? I mean, if it only works when everybody wears it, isn't that kind of like circular logic? You know what I mean? You guys know what that is? I assume. I don't know, but I just find it wicked funny. You guys can't even get the most basics of safety
Thank you.
violations.
Okay, so I gotta hover over. Tracy Evangelista and.
All right, well, Tracy Evangelista,
Promote to panelists, right?
well, it's,
Where is that?
yes, please.
It disappeared.
Ms. Evangelista?
Where'd it go? Oh, wait, I found the name. Do I click it? Click on? Where does it say allow to talk?
Allow to talk when you hover over her name, it should give you allow to talk. It's not there?
No. I just have promote to panelist and then more. And then it's not in more.
Okay, I just gave her, I just promoted her, we'll figure it out after.
Okay.
She's still muted though?
Yeah. So, oh,
Try again.
Okay, she,
did you pause it full time?
yeah, we
I
did pause it.
All right, Tracy, you're muted still.
Tracy, you're muted?
Hi, sorry, it took a long time to get the unmute.
There we go.
Can you hear me now?
All right, yes.
Oh, okay, this is Tracy Evangelista, 25 Portland Road. I don't know if anyone else on Zoom is having the same problem, but the audio quality tonight is terrible. Everyone sounds very, very garbled. It's very hard to understand. I don't know if that's a technical issue there or here, but the audio, I just wanted to bring it to your attention.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's
All right, Mr. Kaplan?
Oh, let's see. There we go.
You-
Yeah, clear. Sorry. All right, now we're back at 2.5.
Dan Catherine, 200 Union Street. Let me start by saying it's great to see so many parents getting involved and trying to get their kids the best education they can. It's nice to see community getting together when they need to. It'd be great if every member of the school board would do the same. Our school board continues to enact unrealistic policy that the school staff is unable to implement correctly. I'm not placing blame on the teachers or the staff. I'm placing blame on the school board members. They continue to do exactly what the teachers union wants them to do, and that's it, not what the parents feel is best. You've proven that with the masks and how many incidents we've had since the mask mandate and everything going on. Your job here is to educate our kids, not to take care of our kids. We don't need babysitters. The parents will do the job to take care of their kids. There was an incident with my child October 5th where my son was where the school clearly did not follow the protocol set in place by the school board. This is unacceptable that you continue to fail to do the job you've been given it to do. This is one of many such incidents that's occurred just over the last 6 weeks since the school's been in place. Us parents are here to let you know this is a rolling ball that will eventually catch up with the three of you. If not today, it'll be tomorrow.
Thank you.
And there's nobody online.
Okay, so we excuse me, the issue of the Zoom connection, that people can't hear us. I'm not quite sure how to proceed with that.
So it is being shown on Grantown Media, right?
It is.
So
Where are they getting their audio from though? Are they
are
getting
they
their?
getting it from Zoom or are they getting it directly
from
through?
here.
These are not connected to the computer in the corner. That's what,
So can we type a message to them, just letting them know that there's audio issues and recommended to use Granite Town Media to watch and then,
Don't know if we can do that.
okay.
Q&A.
I think we can because it's a webinar. and it doesn't have questions.
You have a smart board, we can write it on the board?
Questions.
Is there any way to contact? Okay, I will, I'm just going to try to talk really loud, so I apologize. All right. If you are listening on Zoom, please understand that there's an audio problem. We can't do anything to address it. We are trying, we will continue to try to speak as loud as we can. Thank you. I guess that's the best.
Yeah.
I mean, it's available.
Are we still in our 20 minutes? Because I
No,
just had a
it's-
hand.
No, I
Pause
stopped it at 10, so.
We have one more?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we have one more public comment.
Okay. So, I got to start this timer.
If they can hear us.
Carrie Niscala?
Terry?
Carrie.
Yeah, I just want to comment on the audio. It's not the volume of the audio. Everybody sounds like they're underwater.
Oh,
People who are masked, people masked and unmasked.
okay, thank you.
We can't hear the words. It's not just the volume. Just so you know, I don't know if the recording's going to be able to pick it up either. But
Okay, thank you.
sure.
Is what we post online, is that from Zoom or from the Granite Town Media?
Granite Town Media.
Granite Town Media,
Yeah.
okay.
So here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to put up a slide that tells people to access tonight's meeting.
Okay,
through Granite
that would be
Town.
great, thank you.
And just put it up there.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then
Just
just,
like I said.
Yep.
Yep.
and then just come on and raise their hand for public comment. Christie, you want to put on there, have them come on just for public comment on Zoom?
Yes.
So that way there they know they
Yeah,
can still
okay.
access their public comment that way.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, the next item is board member comments.
That's the same one. Oh,
Are we done because we have another hand up?
Oh, we have another hand up.
yeah,
Okay.
another one just,
Oh.
How much do we have?
Oh, you have 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. We have plenty. Yep.
Doreen Danhoff.
Doreen? Doreen?
Yeah. And you're muted, and I gotta reset my timer. Okay.
Should give you the
Can you hear me,
quiet.
Judy?
Yes, I can.
Judy, we could hear you only when you spoke right in front of the microphone. And if you're 6 inches away, anybody, it's totally inaudible. But when you spoke a couple minutes ago and said there's an audio, you were talking directly into the microphone. That's the only time we can hear you.
Wow.
So that's anybody. They have to speak directly in front. That's all. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you. Wow. So that's what we,
All right.
Speak to the mic.
oof. All right. The next item is board member comments. Do any members have comments? Mr. Vituli?
Thank you, Mrs. Chairman. I just want to thank the superintendent and for during this pumpkin festival, the school board and members and other people came and volunteered to pass out free books to students from all ages, from K through high school. The kids were excited. They got the free books that we used for money from, was it from the SM funds?
Yes.
So they were excited. They came up there and took the books and were just a wonderful way to use the money to help reward all the kids with good books. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No? Okay. While I know there are a lot of things going on in schools right now, I have to mention that today I received on Friday I received a video of a glass mural from Heron Pond. And it was fabulous. I've not had a chance to see it in person, but I saw this video, and I'm sure there must be a link on the Heron Pond website. But my word, the whole school contributed to that, and it was beautiful, beautiful stuff. Congratulations to all of you for great work. And although I personally am going to be out of town and miss it, I also want to note that Jocks Elementary will be holding their Halloween parade on Friday, October 29th at 1:30 p.m. And ever since we moved to Milford a long time ago, it's been one of our favorite events. So I encourage you, even if you're not a parent or a grandparent, to come out, and it's just so joyful. So it's a wonderful event. No other? Okay. Item 4 on the agenda is reports and presentations. I would like to call on Interim Superintendent Christy Michaud at this time for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Chairwoman Zanos. Good evening, board members. We've got a heavy agenda this evening, so I'll keep my superintendent's report rather short. I want to echo Mr. Vitulli's comments. We had a very successful 3 days at the Pumpkin Festival, distributing hundreds of books to students, families, grandparents, neighbors. It was wonderful to see students of all ages. We had preschool students all the way up through our high school students coming and receiving a book and getting their pictures taken with family and friends. It was just a wonderful event. We were so glad and proud to be part of it as the Milford School District. We also had a number of volunteers that assisted us on Friday evening, all day long on Saturday, and on a good portion of the day on Sunday. So thanks to our volunteers, thanks to you folks that were able to come out and help us to celebrate literacy and to really showcase the great school district that we are. And the only other item I wanted to share with you is that we've shared a book, a copy of Jimmy Casas's book, Culturize, with you. Jimmy Casas is an author. He is joining our school district during our early release next Wednesday at 1:30, so 1:30 till about 3 o'clock p.m. Would love to have you come as board members to join us. We're going to be a full staff here at the high school between the cafeteria and the gymnasium. We will be listening to this great speaker. This book is really timely for our school district. Jimmy, in his book, Culturize, he talks about 4 core principles, and those four core principles are championing for students, expecting excellence, carrying the banner for your school district, and being a merchant of hope. All real timely messages. We're really looking forward to having Jimmy come and talk with our staff, and we hope that you might join us again next Wednesday afternoon during our early release from 1:30 till 3 o'clock. And that is the extent of my superintendent's report. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I would like to call on Mrs. Laura Siebert to make the employees leaving service report.
You said that was 1:30 to 3?
Yes.
Good evening, school board members. Can everybody hear me okay?
We can.
Last time I presented, I think I was a little soft-spoken, so I'll try and do a better job this evening. So as you know, you have a school board policy 2417, which is exit interviews. And in that policy, we report out to you twice a year, typically in October and then again in April. In May, I believe I presented to you that there's a suggestion to change the timing of us reporting this out so that we could capture a full fiscal year of employees leaving data, and to try and align it as close to our fiscal year as possible. Unfortunately, unfortunately, our policy committee has been very, very busy addressing a number of legal policies that have to just have annual renewal and revision. And so we have not, in the 2 policy meetings since that board meeting, had an opportunity to present it to them. So we haven't changed the policy as of yet. So what I want to point out to tonight in this report that I've provided is that the time frame is going back to May 4th through current October, so not tonight, but October 14th, when I prepared the report for you, so that we are picking up where we left off last report, okay? Mm-hmm. So during that time frame, it's important to note that it's typical to see an influx in attrition in the summer months, particularly at June 30th, because our school teachers and our paraprofessional school year employees, their contracts end June 30th. So for folks that are knowing that they're going to end at the end of this contract year, they give notice, they'll work through the end of the contract year, and then they'll move on to another district or wherever they're planning on going. So we usually see an increase in terminating employees, okay? So during that time frame, we saw 48 employees leaving the district. Primarily, all of those are voluntary in nature. The bulk of those are personal reasons. It's important for me to clarify that when I'm reporting specific reasons like retirement or a move or a personal health issue, it's because the employee explicitly communicated to HR that that was the reason they were leaving. Otherwise, it's identified as just sheerly personal in nature. So we try and get to the core reason as best as possible through multiple means. So one of those means that we use is the exit survey. So we have been trying to increase or improve our participation rates in our exit survey process and participation. So what we've tried to do in HR is make that process accessible and convenient to exiting employees. So our form is available to employees to complete electronically, and then they can meet with me specifically for an exit interview, and they can meet via phone, in person, of course, and then also remotely through Zoom. So of their choice and at their convenience. We had, out of the 48 employees, we had 9 participants provide either an exit survey or meet with me directly. When I meet with people, the first thing I do is set the standard and the expectation, the goal of the meeting. The goal of the meeting is for them to provide us, the district, HR, in a confidential manner, an opportunity to share their work experience while they were here as an employee of the district. And then in that form, which I've shared with you in this report, there are specific questions that I will ask as it relates to development, growth, mentorship, positives, possibly negatives, what was the most challenging piece of your employment, and we work through that form unless they just want to have a conversation with me. I always ask them if there is any person or supervising administrator that they would like me to share something or convey something specific with, given that we've had great discussion about that. And otherwise, the meeting is confidential, meaning that it doesn't end up in their personnel file. It stays with HR, and HR grabs aggregate data and looks at trends and reports it out to the school board as a whole without identifying the particular person giving that information. That confidential space is important for many people to be able to articulate their experience without feeling that they're in some way jeopardizing their experience here with the district. And then on occasion, an employee might say, I would like that to be shared with the superintendent or with my principal, and then I do that upon their request. So I guess what I would like to do is just open it up for you for any questions you might have about the data that I provided to you in the report.
Is there a way that we can see the exit interviews?
So
Was that part of the policy that we were, I'm trying to go back in memory.
It's not, and it's not recommended by legal and HR, but what we could do is open it up so that if there is specific parts, like if somebody wants somebody specifically to attend an exit interview, we open that up as an invitation for the employee in terms of what they want to share. But I generally direct it to the superintendent, so the superintendent can respond appropriately to the employee if that's the case.
I know we had discussions before on this about having access to seeing these as far as a board goes. So, I mean, I think it's important to know why people are leaving if they're doing exit interviews, because if there is something that the school district can correct.
Sure. Yeah,
know,
sure.
that's
And that's captured to some degree. And what I'd like to see is a higher participation rate, even though we're on par with the national average
Right.
at 19% participation rate. I still think we could get a little bit more participation, which would help us to see those trends or to see, why people are leaving. So this year, it's voluntary and it's personal nature, but I didn't find a trend because I only had 9 people participating in the process. And each one was generally unique in nature. And then I do see a continued trend in positives. People enjoy the work they do. They enjoy working with our students. They enjoy their colleagues generally, and they are feeling like they had great satisfaction in that area, the work they do.
Right.
So that's consistent all along.
My concern is that if we don't know about an issue, we can't fix it. And I know that when we had discussions, I think that was last year.
Yeah, it was.
So I'm trying to remember going back, but it's, we can't really fix anything unless it's identified.
Mrs. Michaud and I both spoke to legal about this, to our counsel. And do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I think it's the opinion of legal counsel that issues that come up through the exit interview process would be your superintendents to address with their staff, right? So if there was something specific that was occurring within a school or within the district, you have charged the superintendent with the role and responsibility to address whatever that might be. I think part of the conversation, if I remember correctly, last year was that you were concerned for those that might provide some sort of a comment or perhaps a concern as it related to the superintendent through the interview process. One of the things that we thought we might be able to do through sort of a Google form would be to be able to provide somebody with sort of that option. Would you like to give specific feedback as it relates to, say, the superintendent? And that would take them to another section of the board, of the exit form. And then that particular section would be information that could be specifically shared with you because it would fall under your purview as I am your employee or the superintendent is your employee.
And that's in place now, right? Or
That is not currently
It's
in
not
place.
in place, but we could essentially build another question within
Right.
the form that captures that data if the board pleases. And then I don't even know that it necessarily needs to be embedded in the policy because the policy doesn't speak to the actual form itself and the
Right.
questions itself. It just speaks to that we have something in existence and the nature of how we convey that information to the board. I do want to point out, too, that when I'm having these meetings with our staff, our exiting staff, if I hear something that's particularly concerning, I stop and ask that staff member or if it would be okay if I share it with the appropriate party that's going to be able to address it most, efficiently. So
Have you had
sometimes
any-
that's the superintendent, sometimes that might be the building principal, depending on the situation.
Has anyone declined that? Has anyone said they don't want that shared?
Yes, but not generally. Not generally. Usually people are looking to, when they're meeting, they care.
Right.
And they care enough to take the time to meet with me. And they're looking to either convey their experience or, improve whatever experience they might have had. Yeah.
That's all.
Any other questions?
No, I'm good.
No?
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. McLean, do you want to ask HR to add that question?
Oh, yes. Oh, sorry.
I don't even know if we need a motion, but I mean, it wouldn't hurt to do
No, I
it
don't
that
think we
way.
need a motion for that, but I think that it would be a good idea to put that in there.
I do too.
Yeah,
More information is always good to have.
I don't know that we need a motion, because I'm not sure we're
No, it's
not
just
doing
simply
anything. But
No,
I,
just
changing
add to
forms.
it.
I do think that that's a good way of getting feedback in a positive way without compromising our discussion with people who are leaving service.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll implement it and work with Christy to get the wording just right, but with that,
All right.
that mindset that that's the goal.
All right.
And I just want to, there was one parting thought that I wanted to share with you, but fleeting. I guess that's the intent is to bring the policy changes that were brought forward in the May meeting to the policy committee as soon as possible so that we can make a change to the reporting timeframes.
So can we get that on the next policy meeting? I mean, there's plenty of notice for it. So that way there we can,
Busy schedules.
I know it's adding more, but
We can make it quick.
Yeah, there are several policies right now that are on the docket that are required by law, they're required, new legislation each year requires us
Right.
to update and revise our current policies. So we have a number of policies that are currently on the docket. However, we can add this one as well.
okay. It sounds like it'd be a relatively quick thing to add, and I think it,
so.
you
I
know,
think so as well.
Thank you for the report, Mrs. Siebert.
thank
And
you.
our policy committee has met 3 times this month. There's just so many.
Okay, next item of business is duct cleaning and boiler updates. A report from Mr. Cooper, Director of Building and Grounds.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm going to start at the bottom. I know you have the update in front of you. The duct cleaning has been completed at all the schools. The gentleman that usually takes the pictures and sends them to us is on vacation, so I should be getting those later this week, and I will pass those along. They did actually a really good job in all the buildings, and I'm going to add it to the budget every 5 years to make sure it gets done. The boiler project's done at both schools, Heron Pond and at the middle school. The Industrial Steel and Boiler Services out of Chicopee did actually a really good job this past summer. They ran into some issues getting 2 parts for both sets of boilers. One of the supply chains, I don't know exactly what happened, but it took a lot longer than we thought. So October 20th, they will be meeting with Lars, who is the manufacturer of the boilers, and to inspect the middle school, and we should be good to go. They already did Heron Pond, so they're up and running. The frequency drives that are on both sets of boilers, we'll be getting a rebate for those. With that rebate and the rebate we get for the boilers, the school district should receive around $45,000 in rebates. So,
Wow.
any questions? I would like to move forward next summer to do jocks, finish that one up, and we can talk about bales.
Yeah,
So that one
yeah.
will come up too.
yeah.
But I would like to continue this. If we can do one or both, we will be 2 years ahead of schedule on our project plan. So.
All right. Any questions? No? Thank you, Mr. Cooper.
Hopefully we don't need to use them anytime soon.
Yeah. Okay, item 5 is new business. Since the first item under new business is a policy proposal and didn't phrase that quite right. Since the first item under new business is policy proposals, and policy 2132 changes the name of special subcommittees to special advisory committees, I would like to add an item to the agenda to change the name of our new facilities committee to the Special Advisory Facilities Committee. So I make a motion to add that to the agenda under new business as item E, changing the name of the committee. Second?
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Thank you. The first item of business is the second reading of policy proposals. As requested, Policy 2117 was edited to remove the words district staff from item 3. If the board is amenable, would you like to approve the remaining suggested policy changes as a single item, or prefer to take them one by one? Does anybody want to take them one by one? It's just second reading on everything.
Yep.
No? Okay. So may I have a motion to approve policies 2117, 2132, 2135, 2137, 2138, and 2139?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Item B is Graduation Participation Policy 3530. Mrs. Michaud?
Yes, we have the Graduation Participation Policy 3530 before you this evening. This is a rather short policy. I can read it aloud to you. It is our recommendation to ask for your consideration to waive this policy for the 21-22 school year. The policy reads, in order to participate in graduation, students must be enrolled and in regular attendance at Milford High School for at least one semester in their final year. Students may participate in only one graduation exercise. Milford High School will present a diploma to these students who meet all graduation requirements as set forth in the Milford High School Program of Studies. So the one piece that we're concerned about this year is the requirement for at least one semester. Students are in regular attendance at least one semester in their final year. We do have students who have participated in the VLAX program, the online virtual learning academy charter school, and those students will not be in regular attendance and enrolled in courses here on campus in their final year. So for those students in particular, we're asking that you waive this policy for the 21-22 school year.
Okay.
Any questions about that?
This just pertains to the VLAC students?
It does.
Right. I have no questions.
No?
Can I motion that we approve it?
I'll second.
Okay, so we're going to override.
Suspend it
Yeah,
for the
For
year.
the VLAC?
Exactly.
All right, so it's policy number what?
3530.
All right, 3530. All right, so the motion is,
This requirement for
all right,
this
the
21-22 school
motion
year.
is to suspend policy 3530 for the academic school year 21-22.
Yes, thank
All
you.
right, so we have a first and we had a second. A second, okay. Further discussion? No? Seeing none? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Okay. Item C is MMS and MHS goals and action plans.
So I'll invite Mr. Demers to come up first. Our secondary administrators, Mr. Demers and Mrs. Radowitz, are here this evening to share their 21-22 school goals and action plans. Each year, as we shared 2 weeks ago with our elementary schools, each year our principals work with their teams at the school level to develop goals in alignment with our strategic plan. And this evening, our secondary administrators are going to speak with you about their goals for the upcoming year.
All set?
All set. Thank you, Mr. Demers.
No problem. So I'm Bill Demers. I'm the principal of Milford Middle School. Thanks for having me tonight. I'm just going to briefly talk about the 3 goals we're setting forth for this school year. So if we could get that first goal rocking. Oh.
Yeah, just go to the next one.
I better not do that. There we go. All right, so goal number 1 is really based around student success and achievement as well as curriculum. So as you can see, it says Milford Middle School staff will collaborate to create and implement an engaging and accessible curriculum that meets the needs of all learners. As a result, 50% of Milford Middle School students will meet their growth projection on the Language Arts Reading NWEA assessment. And so the action steps there is I'm just gonna focus on a few of these bullet points rather than just reading all of them. The Universal Design for Learning is the framework that we are using and implementing to design our lesson plans when delivering instruction to students. We just had a team of teachers and administrators go to a conference in Concord on October 5th, and to bring that back to the larger staff and keep training people up on how to go about developing their lessons using that UDL framework. Additionally, we're going to continue developing overall curriculum units using the Understanding by Design framework, which is that backwards design of planning where we figure out what outcomes do we want the kids to have and then work backwards from there to develop the lessons. And then finally, one thing we're really excited about is the Edmentum ExactPath software that we're going to be bringing in. We have staff getting trained up on that now. And what this software does is it talks to NWEA. So once kids take that assessment, which they just finished up, they're finishing up this week, the makeup tests. Once we have those all done, we can upload it into Edmentum, and what it does is it creates an individualized learning pathway for those students to fill in any skill gaps that they may have. So really, we want to look to target this as an intervention for kids who are behind in their skills. We could also use this for after-school academic programming as well as summer school programming as well to really make some individualized advancements for students moving forward. We came up with the number of 50% of students based off of the test data from last year, where we had around 40% of our students make their projected growth. So knowing that we have more time in school this year compared to last year with the hybrid learning, we set that ambitious goal of 10 to 13% growth, depending on the grade level. Goal number 2 is based on SEL. So Milford Middle School, we started the responsive advisory program in the 1920 school year. And as we know, that ended, interestingly. So we weren't able to gather the necessary data necessary. Let me repeat that again. We weren't able to gather the necessary data to establish whether or not the program is effective or not, or what changes need to be made moving forward. Last year, similarly, was a difficult, non-traditional year where we weren't seeing kids in advisory on a daily basis. It was just twice a week when they were in the building. So we didn't figure that that was going to give us the data necessary to determine whether or not the program is effective and what tweaks need to be made. Now this year, we're seeing the kids every day. We have advisory every day. We also made a change where everyone has advisory at the same time during the school day, first thing in the morning. And so we're going to use the Devereaux Student Strengths Assessment, also known as the DESA, which is aligned to the CASEL standards as well for SEL, where the interesting thing about this is actually it's the adults who take this assessment based on their students in their advisory class and what they think the students need. So it's a little bit more work for the staff, but what's nice is it's less instructional time we're sacrificing for the kids in that manner. And really what we want to see is that kids are making growth in their SEL, for their the DESA gives us a social emotional composite score for each of the kids. We want to see them grow. So we're going to be doing that shortly here towards the end of the first quarter to take that baseline assessment, and then we'll take it again in the spring to see how much growth the kids had. Also through the course of the year, we're going to have an advisory committee set up, made up of staff members, to see what changes. There's all sorts of different models that are out there that different schools do, and based on some of the data that we get, we want to see if there's any tweaks or changes that we want to do to how we administer advisory. In additional, one thing I want to start before the end of this calendar year is to start a principals advisory committee, which is going to be made up of students. So I have a staff advisory committee. I meet with PTO on a monthly basis to get parent input, and so now this will give an opportunity for students to give input directly to me. So that's our SEL goal. Moving on now to our third goal with communication and community engagement. Milford Middle School will foster and develop positive relationships among students and families, school staff, and the greater Milford community in order to support students in both their academic and social emotional growth. So the way I view this is that this goal supports the first two goals, right? If we do this goal really well and partner with our community, with our families effectively, it's going to help increase student learning academically and socially and emotionally. And so we're going to keep going forward with our advisory committee, keep up with our school newsletters, our email communications. We'll keep working with PTO. That we have a brand new executive board with our PTO, and they're really ambitious and wanting to make some real positive changes and do some more fundraising. We just kicked off our first fundraiser for the fall with some popcorn selling. So if you like gourmet popcorn, let me know. I'll hook you up. And we'll keep going with working with the Boys and Girls Club, SHARE, Harbor Homes, Greater Nashua Mental Health, all these great community groups that help us out regularly. And then one thing we are excited about is hopefully at the end of this school year to bring back the 8th grade Career Day event, where we bring in various people from the community and the surrounding communities to give presentations to kids about different career pathways. It's a good way for them to start thinking about their future in high school and ATC and figure out a path that they want to get going. So last year we had some community members who were willing to do things virtually and trying to do that. But this year we're hoping to bring it back in person. It's a little bit more meaningful that way. All right. That's all I have for our goals. Any questions?
No, thank you, Mr. Demers.
Thank you.
Nice job. Thank you, Mr. Nurse.
Thank you.
Our interim principal, Mrs. Radowitz, is up next.
Sure. I'm going to take my mask so hopefully you can hear me. So we also have 3 goals, our first one being student success and achievement. We would like to work to continue to provide interventions and support to our students to improve student growth and success and reduce our retention rate by 50% from the last school year to this school year. Retention rate is basically how many credits a student needs to be able to move on to the next grade level. So right now, for a freshman to be a sophomore, they need 5 credits. For a sophomore to be a junior, they need 11. For a junior to be a senior, they need 17. And for a senior to graduate, they need 24. So if they are one short, even they don't get retained. To do that, we're going to be looking at our NWA, our SAT, which is our statewide assessment system, our PSAT, and our retention data to determine what supports, what interventions, what remediation our students need. We are also looking to implement our teacher academic support center block this semester before the end of it to provide supports, intervention, and remediation to students within the school day to help them be successful. Our PLC groups will be reviewing their student work, seeing where they're seeing trends that they need to maybe identify some target areas, look at some specific instructional practices they need to try to alleviate some of those concerns. Our department teachers are looking on common strategies. So, for example, our English teachers are looking at a First Chapter Friday to encourage students to do some independent reading. Our science department is looking at incorporating the next gen science standards, science and engineering practices into their work. Our social studies department is looking at standardizing historical reasoning and the way they write in class. And our ATC teachers are looking at employability skills and rubrics so that they're all using something consistent. There's also support after school. Staff are always available. Credit recapture has started for students interested in that. We have a homework club, and our Honor Society also provides tutoring. So we're looking at doing a mix of supports both in the school day, after the school day, and within our classes to try to help support students, fill any gaps that they may have had from last year and any struggles they may be continuing to have. For our climate culture and social emotional learning, we're looking at the 5 areas within social emotional learning. So creating and promoting a safe and positive learning environment to hit those 5 areas: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. And that will be as evidenced by an increase in attendance, student engagement in class, and positive behaviors. We're doing this through a series of presentations, as well as things that we're doing in class. Our first one will be Matt Balas. He does a presentation on substance abuse, mental health awareness, resilience, and social supports, and he'll be coming in next week during our Red Ribbon Week activities. We also have an ASA anti-bullying presentation. These are professional skateboarders and bikers, and they'll be coming in and showing off some of their tricks. But in with that presentation, they also talk about bias, they talk about bullying, they talk about being an ally, not just a bystander, inclusion, overcoming obstacles for students. NAMI and the Center for Trauma Responsive Practices, one of those two groups, will also be coming in to present on mental health awareness, traumatic stress and the effect it has on us, behavioral challenges, suicide prevention, some community local resources, and emerging into adulthood for our students. Again, next week, Red Ribbon Week activities is on substance abuse prevention awareness. They talk about statistics nationwide as well as locally, which they get off of the Youth Risk Behavior Survey that's done every 2 years, and just showing students, again, supports for how to be substance-free. And then some things departments are doing. Science department is looking at a science department celebration day. We're still working on Spirit Week for this fall and trying to increase student voice within the school. And then finally, our communication, community involvement. We'd like to increase and improve the level of communication with parents and the community on events that we have, on our students' progress and achievement, and on resources that we have available for parents. So trying to increase the number of developmentally appropriate community-based extended learning and service opportunities. So these are the internships and the opportunities for students to earn credit while working in businesses locally. We'd like to expand the offerings that we have for students there. We have a new student-developed school newspaper. So they put their first one out last week, so we just have to get it loaded onto the school website, and then I'll share the link of that with parents so they can see what some of the things that are going on in the school. Improve our communication on athletic events, open house, plays, concerts, guidance evenings, all the events that go on here at school. Our ATC Center will be having their professional, I think it's action committees, it's the groups meeting, and they have their an evening next week already planned with local businesses. Expanding our parent resource area in the library, and then soliciting feedback and suggestions from our parents, from our staff, from our students on what are some of the resources they need and how can we increase our communication with them. Any questions on those? Yes, sir.
Do we look into, is there someone doing any research into like colleges where to see if we're on level education-wise? Or to see if we have to do any extra remedial education to get them caught up to grade level?
I know within Naviance, we are able to get, it's a nationwide clearinghouse that does give us feedback. When our students here enroll in colleges, then it gives us feedback back on how successful they're being, what their completion rate are in the schools and that sort of thing. So I can check in with guidance on that, but there is a nationwide clearinghouse that feeds us back some of that information.
Okay, 'cause I know I get a little concerned like over the last year and a half how it's gone to make sure that any students going on to college, that they're at grade level for freshman year in college.
We share that same concern.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Radowitz.
We thank our secondary teams, our administrative teams, their faculty and staff for the development of those goals, and wish them success in making progress on those goals this school year, and certainly expect that if there's any need for resources or supports, that they reach out so that we can offer that to them as the year progresses.
All right. Thank you. Let's see, item D is custodial services, and I'll once again call on Mr. Cooper. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone is aware that we're continue to be short-staffed on the custodial side. We're down 3 right now, and last year we last fall, I believe, we talked about outsourcing for at least one or two of the buildings, and that would be Jocks and Bales. And at that time, when we decided on that, we got 2 or 3 people to apply, and we didn't have to do it. Well, this year I'm not having as much success. So I went out and solicited 4 quotes for cleaning of those 2 buildings. And I want to make it very clear that I did talk to the president of MEPA, the union, and explained to him that we're not trying to outsource everyone. It's just that we're having a really difficult time finding staff members, people to fill in for the staff there. And so what I'm looking for is to start in November and end on June 30th of 2022, so for the remainder of the school year. So the 4 quotes that we were given, as you see in front of you, the costs range from $66,500 to $128,000. And that would be for the 8 months. That would be from November through the end of June. And I did speak with Jane about this on where the costs were come in. And they're actually, the $66,000 is pretty low. And that's for the 8 months. So monthly costs would be $8,320 per month. And that would give us 4 part-time cleaners 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, to clean both those buildings. They would come in at 6, work till 10, and we would get the buildings cleaned. So in speaking with the custodial supervisor at Jocks and the president of the MEPA, I discussed that, and we would take 2 of the people that are there currently and move them over to the middle school, because that's another need. We're short over there. If I have somebody that's out at the middle school, we're down to 1 person at night. So not to do 104,000 square feet of building. So the supervisor for Jocks and Bales would remain at Jocks and Bales to oversee the cleaning operations over there. The 2 custodial people that I have there would move over to the middle school, and one of them will probably be retiring in December anyway. So, so that's my plan. And like I said, I did talk with the president of the MEPA, and he's on board with it. So it is my recommendation, after looking at this, without going through all the numbers, that the school board award the contract to Faria's Cleaning Service for the amount of $66,560 for the remainder of the school year.
That's like a huge difference between the low bid and the high bid. Is there an explanation for that? I mean, is there something obvious?
So the one at the bottom for $128,000, he said he was going to put 1 or 2 people there for 8 hours a day, and he'll get it done. But his costs were a little bit more. And if you notice in the comments, 1, 2, 3, 4, we will be supplying the equipment plus the supplies, which is, I said that to everyone. But yeah, I think their prices are a little.
Yeah, a couple of them are shocking.
Yeah. So.
Do we have any references related to companies?
I did speak to the superintendent this afternoon about this, and she asked the same question. And I wasn't going to check any references until the board gave approval on moving forward with this, and then I was going to check the references. If they don't check out, I'm not going to move forward with anyone, and then we'll start the process all over again.
Okay.
If in the event, if you have a flood of applicants come in.
Wow.
I will be looking at those.
So then we would be able to end the agreement with them early?
We do a month to month. But my goal is to get those buildings clean for the
Right.
remainder of the school year.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not looking to replace any of them. I'd like to have applicants come in.
Yeah, no,
We're not the only ones having
Yeah.
issues.
I just want to make sure we're not handcuffed to being stuck
No.
paying them for the
Right.
whole year if,
Yep.
yeah.
I rather think this is for Mrs. Fortson. Given the fact that we have positions that aren't filled, how much will that offset the cost for the cleaning?
It should offset it in its entirety, actually.
Okay, thank you. That's hopeful. Good to hear. All right, so what you would like to hear is the board to say that we would choose someone, and then you'll check the references, and depending on the references, get back to us.
Correct.
Okay. Do I have a motion for that, or discussion? Yeah, Mr. McLean?
I would say I'll make a motion to approve the Farias?
Yeah, I think it's Farias.
Farias cleaning service. Sorry if they're listening and I butchered it. So for the $66,560.
Right, based on,
Oh, based on the references, if everything checks out.
Okay.
okay,
And then
all right.
He seconded.
Second.
Do I have a second? Okay, so motion to second, further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cooper.
Can we take a 5-minute break or 3-minute break?
You just need a recess? Okay.
I drink a lot of coffee.
Okay, why don't you just make a motion for a recess? And we'll-
So make a motion to take a 5-minute recess.
Second,
I second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, 5 minutes.
All right, thank you.
Stretch your legs. It's actually gone more quickly than I expected. I'm pleasantly surprised. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a purpose. Yes, very much so. Wait till I confuse them with the subjects. There's not a whole lot to report on it. I mean, literally.
Right over the finish line. I would have come in third.
The thing is, Laura, as you look at it, this is last week, the first week of the new rates. Our fill rate dropped in the week before, and we paid $1,900 more.
And I pulled the names. So we have, I need to talk to you about this tomorrow. We have 5.
I apologize for come by anytime you want to see.
After the basement. I will.
They signed, but they were in the pipeline, so they didn't do it because of
We'll talk about it tomorrow. I want to talk to you about it tomorrow. So,
Yes, but well.
and only out of those, 2 people.
Line out there.
Oh, okay.
So the others, the others haven't left yet.
Yeah, no
So I
one
went
came in
and
for a
looked and I
picture
wrote down their
today.
dates.
Yeah.
So
I didn't even
we
check
can
the
talk about
time.
it tomorrow.
Yep.
So anyway, that's interesting that the fill rates went down.
Yeah, but it's 1 week, Laura. You know, it's a weird. But yeah, it
What,
dropped.
47%?
But this is what we were paying, and because of that, this is what we paid for the week.
All right.
It's all the data we got. I mean, this is going to be an ongoing.
Okay. I didn't check the 5 minutes. Is it close?
Probably around 3 right now.
Yeah,
Okay,
just
all
as he
right.
gets back.
All right.
Never drank coffee.
I took a taste of it once.
Oh, isn't it? That's unbelievable.
Oh, I can't, like, survive.
I was probably the only Marine that I ever knew who didn't drink coffee.
I can't survive without mine.
I just never left. I'm already hyper.
I need it.
I don't like anything with caffeine. I don't like chocolate. I don't like soda. I don't.
Wow.
Everything that has caffeine, I seem to dislike naturally.
Right?
People. I'm already off the walls.
Good for
I don't
you.
need it.
Oh, good for you.
I'm getting my energy back as I've lost it.
So I lost more.
Oh, he went to the bathroom. There he is. Back.
Okay.
They're all back now.
Okay.
We gonna do E now?
I think they did move this up.
Facility.
Okay, the board has now returned from brief recess. Ladies and gentlemen, the board has now returned from brief recess. Moving on to item E, that I would like to make a motion to change the name of our new Facilities Committee to the Special Advisory Facilities Committee.
Oh,
A second.
All right,
Sorry.
further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
hi.
Aye.
Thank you.
That's easy.
Item 6 is old business, and the first agenda item is the fiscal year budget for 22-23. And Mrs. Michaud,
Yeah,
I will yield to you.
I can speak to that, thank you. Over the past several months, our directors, principals, and our SAU team have been working hard to develop the 22-23 budget for our schools and for our departments. We're intending to share the 22-23 fiscal year budget with the Budget Committee and the school board on Saturday, November 13th. This evening, however, we are seeking some guidance from the board for a targeted budget amount for that 22-23 budget. Some of the things that we are taking into consideration as we're developing the budget for the upcoming school year are things such as contractual obligations. Also, those would be the existing contractual obligations, as well as the fact that we are negotiating 2 contracts in this year. One with the MIPA group, our buildings and grounds and custodians, as well as our Milford administrative group. In addition to that, certainly we understand that there's been a significant increase in costs associated with products and services, so that, also taking that into account as we're developing the budgets. And one other piece that I wanted to bring to your attention this evening are 2 warrant articles that were on the ballot this past March that we're not looking at recommending to fund for this coming voting season, and that is the Maintenance Expendable Trust and the Special Education Expendable Trust. Last year, we put $195,800 was voted to raise and appropriate for the Maintenance Expendable Trust. That trust is now at a place that we're, again, not recommending that we currently, or that we fund for the upcoming year, as well as the Special Education Expendable Trust, where we put $150,000 in this past voting season. So taking into consideration those pieces, we were hopeful that this evening the board may have an opportunity to engage in some discussion and give us a slight target for where you believe the budget might come in for that 22-23 school year. I'm sorry, fiscal year.
Can I ask you, have we used any of the Maintenance Expendable Trust? So it's still at full?
Or the special ed?
So they're still at full?
They are.
amount?
Yes, they're at full.
Okay. I just want to make sure that's why we weren't putting it out.
Yes.
And we're still going to be doing the boilers, putting in for that trust?
The boilers came off of the...
But for the following year, for next year's.
I mean, that's, I think, more of a budget committee recommendation as they look over
Right.
it to see how they,
Right.
see their recommendations on that as they dig through it. Because I know that's something that we were trying to do last year.
We got 2 years ahead, but
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of how to phrase. I think the Budget Committee has done a remarkable job in years past, and since they're meeting on this Wednesday, I feel sort of like I understand what you're asking for if there's some specific direction, but I do know that they have done a remarkable job, and I'm not sure I had any real large thoughts at this point. I guess that's my thinking.
I'd like to see what they're recommending first.
I think I would like to see what they're recommending first, and I understand what you are asking for. But I do feel that I think that Mr. Nguyen runs a tight ship, and he takes lots into consideration, and I think I would rather yield to the Budget Committee at this point. That is what I'm comfortable with. I don't know what other members of the board feel like. Mr. McLean, you served on the Budget Committee.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, I mean, if I feel like I'm willing to put my trust in them.
No, I definitely put trust in the Budget Committee. Because right now, everyone's building their budget, right?
Right.
So they'll have an outline of where we'll be, and I mean, I know I trust the people on the Budget Committee to really dive through.
They do.
Because I know through the process last year, it was, sorry, I forgot. Through the process last year, I mean, they dissected everything.
Yeah.
And asked a lot of questions through the sheets that the whole district was on, so.
Right.
I would like to trust the Budget Committee on that aspect of it. Because I think they got.
So, but we don't want to give them a range of percentage of.
No, because I think one of the issues, one of the disagreements I had with the board last year was a flat, get it down to this percentage.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that's necessarily a fair overall blanket statement to make. I think we really need to look at what the needs are, obviously some of the wants, and then determine, okay, this is where we're our starting point, and let's figure out where we can work things around. Because they may come with a proposal that's only a 1% increase for all we know. We don't know that. It could be a 5%.
Right.
And
I'd like to see the contracts, all the contracts, what amount of that is before we even think about any other monies.
Exactly, because there's a lot of moving parts to it. So in order to really come up with a percentage, I think we need to get the full contractual obligations first, and then kind of determine at that point where we would need to be. But I absolutely trust the Budget Committee on that, after working with them.
I understand what you mean about last year. I think that perhaps in the future we need to make a more collective agreement about cuts, that it needs to be more collective in terms of people speaking to the issue and agreeing to anything that we decide to do, that it should be somewhat more across the board than a simple, let's just slice off.
Exactly, exactly.
I understand your frustration. All right, so Mrs. Michaud, I'm afraid we've given you
not much.
Not much to work with here.
Okay, I think we're meeting with the Budget Committee, I think, this week.
I do. I just, yeah. And I think some of us are better prepared this year to respond when we get our information. I really feel
more experience.
Certainly.
And see, I still keep my budget book with
I
me,
know.
Jane.
His budget book and his policy book.
I always have them.
Travels heavy there.
Never leave home without it.
I know. Okay, item B on the old business is the new sub-rate report. And Mrs. Fortson, I'm assuming you're going to speak to this?
Yeah, I'm just going to be real brief on this because obviously the change just took effect last Tuesday. And I just want to make one comment. Mike, even I don't carry my budget book with me all the time. Okay? Just need to say that.
Well, your office is right there, too.
What I've done is I've actually done a whole workup as to, what did we pay at a certain time, at a certain rate, what's our fill rate. But I've also got a workup of, if we were under COVID, what would the rate have been? So it's kind of looking at three different things, which, when you just boil it down to it, the only real number we need to be looking at is we made a change last Tuesday. What has been the impact of that change at this point, honestly? We've had 4 days.
Right.
I can tell you that the fill rate last week went down from the week before.
Yeah.
And we were at a 43% fill rate. And if we had had the same rates in effect as we had the week before, we would have spent $3,420. With the new rates, we spent $5,320. So,
Okay.
I mean, that's the nuts and bolts of it, really.
So at this point, not a lot of bang for the buck.
No, and I will say we've had 5 subs that we are onboarding, but they were in the pipeline before the rates came in. But I don't think only 2, Laura had just told me, have actually worked since being brought on, but they're still in that get them in, get them hired kind of process.
Well, it's just going to take time
It
even
is,
for them to
absolutely.
get the clearance and all that.
Yeah. And I just don't want to rely on 1 week of, here's the data. I think this is going to be an ongoing, report of, is this helping? Is it in the right direction? Are we getting more people in? And we're not going to know for another few weeks, at least. I mean, and even then, I think that's real premature.
I think you got to wait till.
Yeah, it did seem like there wasn't a lot of data. Yep.
So I don't know if you want to go into depth, but I really, at this point, it's in its infancy, really.
Is everybody comfortable? Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Doesn't make any sense.
that makes sense. I mean,
Okay.
Okay.
Boy, got out of that.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. All right. Item 7 is public comment. As mentioned for the earlier comments, please clearly state your name and address. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, and the total comment period is 20 minutes.
You should take this one here. It's quiet.
Oh, my word.
I tried to put it under the
Like I need
table.
to put a roast in the oven.
So even just hovering, yeah.
Just only giving the option of commercial
But-
panels.
Does Christie's have?
I don't know, because you're both co-hosts.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll work off of mine, so you can at least see it. How does that sound?
That works. Do you want my charger? Is it okay?
No, I'm fully charged here.
So I'm going to try this out. Try this on yours.
That's fine.
Yeah, you have a completely different setup.
Well, I'll show you after.
Okay, yeah, sorry. All right, so there's nobody online right now, so
Yeah, it's probably they can't hear, so they gave up
True.
on us.
true.
Okay. Are we all set, gentlemen?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Okay. Samaya DeMarco, 190 Timber Ridge. I would just like to remind the board that when you voted to shift the back-to-school reopening plan, you also voted to put this on the agenda once per month to revisit it. It was not on the last school board meeting agenda, nor is it on this agenda, so I don't believe that you guys are following your own protocol. I'd like to see it added to the next meeting. Thank you. That's all.
Now I get to add a second. Nobody online. This is painful.
Alan Arbatina, 36 East Ridge Drive. Just a reminder, to end the pain, we're going to give you 2 options right away. Like, You can, and I'll write it for you again, motion to end the mandatory masking of any kind. Second it, vote it in, end it. It'd be the quickest way. Or people could start quitting. Holly could quit. She's not here tonight. Joe, you could quit. We're not going to go to sleep. So just to bring up, the agenda was brought up by Principal Bill Demers.
Yes.
About SEL, is goal number 2. We come here, we're paying attention, we're following everything. We're going to dig into everything. And believe me, we're going to really have fun with this at the next meeting. Cultural climate, SEL. So you want a growth and social score. Emotional score, models, tweaking. What is this, the CCP? Communist Chinese Party? Or Chinese Communist Party? Is this what we're leading to? Credit scores? Social scores? How about we learn some civics? How about arithmetic? Mike, you asked, how's our school doing overall? New Hampshire schools, like the proficiency in arithmetic graduating is 22%. The state. Maybe Milford's better, maybe worse, I don't know. But I'll dig into those numbers also. How about civics? How about arithmetic? How about reading? How about some history? SEL, is this what we're digging into now? Social emotional learning, critical race theory is basically, it's just rebranded garbage. This is how our kids are being brainwashed, indoctrinated into communism and communist thought. Rather than teaching facts, rational thought, and critical thinking, they are brainwashed into seeing things which are not really there. The idea of this lesson is to get the kids to ignore what they see and let the teacher's instructions override their own experiences. In other words, training kids to accept gaslighting. It's literally Orwellian. I could go into gaslighting and what that is. We'll save that for the next one. So basically, right now, according to the New Hampshire State Board of Education, 186:11, Roman numeral 9-C. Require school districts to adopt a policy allowing an exemption to specific course material based on parents or legal guardians' determination that the material is objectionable. And there's a lot more there. And there's a way I could officially have to do this. So I'm going to file for exemption on this because I don't want my children learning about SEL. And according to the material, it's for 16 years and older. But this is being proposed for our middle school. Yep. Grades 5, 6, and 7. I don't think there's 16-year-olds. I'm objecting to this. And we're going to be digging into everything. Quit. We're going to take this over.
Thank you.
There's nobody online.
Okay. Oh.
I'm not going to get a chance. I like yours better. How do I get one of these?
Dan Catherine, 200 Union Street.
Sorry.
Should be used to it. As I sit through another meeting, I wonder what we accomplished today. Again, we're here to get the kids educated and give them the best education we can. I didn't hear a lot being accomplished this evening. I don't hear a lot being accomplished at any of these meetings. I continue to be frustrated with what I hear coming up and when we pay attention to what's going on. I briefly looked into the Culturize book while we were sitting here. The gentleman who runs that gets $6,000 a day for personal show up. He gets $4,000 for anybody additionally comes with him. So for $10,000, they have 2 people show up here when they show up to do the thing for the book. Who's paying for that? Where does that money come from? Why is that not going to our kids to actually get them somewhere where they need to be? Caught up from what they lost for the last 2 years. This has gone on long enough. We need to educate these kids and get them back on track. You can do all the tests, you can run all the scores, do whatever you want. The facts are the facts. Our kids are behind, and they're only getting further behind while we continue to do nothing.
Thank you. So I'm assuming there's nobody on now. Okay. Okay.
Make a motion that we adjourn the meeting?
I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.